Welcome back, everybody. This is Tucker. Let's talk weather. I'm giving you an early look at our next multi-day severe weather outbreak. And is winter really over yet? I have an update on the chances for some early spring snowfall. All right, everyone. Hope your week's been going well, and I hope you're ready for some more active weather as we get later in the week. I can say, it's pretty quiet to begin the week, so hopefully you've had some time to get outside, maybe enjoy the warmth if it's more mild where you are. But again, things are changing and we have hazards that we really need to talk about. And I'll start with this guy right here. This is our severe weather threat as we head into the back half of the weekend. This is actually on Sunday, so we have some time to watch it. But it's notable because the Storm Prediction Center has already released a very broad severe weather outlook. They don't always do that, and this speaks to the potential that exists. And additionally, even into early next week on Monday, we have a threat for severe weather on the East Coast as well as this system proceeds east. And in addition to both of these threats, there is the potential for snow. So let's jump into the forecast and get right to our overview, and then we'll take a very close look at this severe weather threat and everything associated with it. So here we are, we're taking a look at the country heading into your Wednesday, and honestly, it's pretty nice out there. I gotta admit, it's nice and dry. There's not a lot of activity. If you're going to go outside, get outside in the earlier and middle days of this week. And what you're seeing too, this might be hard to pick out, so I'll draw it for you. Our jet stream, it dips in the east, it rises in the west. We haven't had this orientation much, but it will be a little bit cooler than average out in the north and east and north central, and much more spring-like in the southwest. So the southwest has been kind of cool this month. You get to finally enjoy your spring too. There is a system that arrives on the northwestern Pacific coastline out there. You can see the rain falling heading through Thursday and into Friday. There's also a chance we could get some storms Thursday into Friday in the central part of the country here. These would have severe potential, but they don't look like they're going to be surface-based, so it looks like just some thunder and rain to me, so I wouldn't worry too much. But what you're beginning to see take shape here is our big player. We need to watch this guy closely, and it's this system coming right off the Rockies here. In fact, it's going to be very expansive. You got your warm front, or at least stationary front, extending all the way into the northeast, and you have your cold front that will begin to develop out here across the southwest. So everything in here, that's your warm sector, and that's where you have the potential to create some severe weather. I will say on the north side of this in the northeast, there could be some wintry weather this weekend, mainly in northern New England, but it is worth noting that there may be some snow or at least some freezing rain with this too. As we head into Saturday, you're seeing storms begin to develop in the southeastern U.S. near Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee. I could see a level 1, potentially level 2 severe weather risk with that. The storms just don't look very organized though, so it's not going to be anything high end if they even do become severe. But it's Sunday that things become more active, and you're going to begin to see things develop on Sunday along that low pressure system and a little bit out ahead of it. So everything in here we'll be watching for the potential at some severe weather. And we'll talk about what threats are most likely coming up in a moment. But even into Monday, you're seeing those storms begin to extend farther south, developing along the front here. And our severe weather threat, of course, is going to be along much of the east coast out here on Monday as the storm moves closer to the ocean and eventually moves offshore. Even Tuesday, there's some residual storms that may hang on here. We'll need to keep an eye on another severe weather day. So that's your overview. But let's jump into the actual threat and what you should be planning for now. Just a reminder, our severe weather threat is going to be greatest out here on Sunday, where you see those areas outlined in yellow, and here on Monday, again, where those areas are outlined in yellow. This is from the Storm Prediction Center. I will say, if you watched my last Outlook, we gave you an update on those specific spots before they even issued that Outlook. So if you're looking to stay ahead of things, even before the experts get to them, consider subscribing and turning on notifications, making sure you get those updates, all that stuff. But now let's get into this severe weather threat and why it's even a thing to begin with. And we're moving our jet stream forward here into Sunday, in fact. Actually, you can kind of see on the southern end of this, if this jet arrives a little bit sooner, that will help to propel a severe weather threat out here in the south and eastern U.S. Again, good reason to subscribe. You're getting updates like this before the outlooks are even out. But what we're really looking for is this jet as it begins to dig a little bit deeper and turn a little bit more northwards as the system develops. And you're seeing this begin to overspread the region of interest, we'll call it here, on Sunday. And it's not the most powerful jet I've seen, which I believe may cap the high-end potential of this threat, but it's certainly adequate, at least. And as we head into Monday, you can kind of see it strengthen. Of course, the best jet dynamics will be north of the best thermodynamics, which will be down here, but we definitely have severe weather potential. And even on Tuesday, the jet will still be active. We kind of have a second trough that comes in, and that's why I believe Tuesday as well could end up being a severe weather day for portions of the southeastern U.S. Let me show you the instability too, and of course, instability is key. We need instability along with that active jet to create severe weather. And here's your Saturday. And again, you have the instability in the southeastern U.S., so I don't see any reason why we couldn't have some severe weather along the Mississippi River as early as Saturday. Then on Sunday, you see that instability become more broad. It spreads a lot farther to the north here, and that's helping to propel this very general severe weather threat across a good chunk of the Midwest and southeastern U.S. So Sunday still looks like the biggest day, at least the most broad. Here we are on Monday. You have some instability. My question is, do we get severe weather up into the mid-Atlantic north of D.C.? We could, but it's something we need to watch. Still, though, you have the jet down here. You have the best instability in the southeastern U.S. And as I move this into Tuesday, you're continuing to see we still have enough instability for a severe weather threat out there, too. So that's our greatest concern. Everything I've looked at with you so far suggests we're looking at primarily, at least from everything I've looked at, kind of behind the scenes, too, primarily a damaging wind risk, but also our photographs here, which might look kind of confusing, so bear with me. You can kind of see any of these shapes that are curved. See how those lines are kind of curved here? Especially the earliest part kind of looks like a hook like this. That tells you there's spin in the atmosphere, and all I'm trying to get at with this is that there is going to be spin in the atmosphere as this moves through. So damaging wind, certainly the potential for tornadoes. Actually, I believe tornadoes and damaging wind may be equal parts threats, at least on Sunday. Monday looks like it may become more of a damaging wind and even hail risk over tornadoes, but we'll need to be keeping an eye out for all three of those factors in this storm. Now, for those of you not experiencing severe weather, I do want to talk about the chances that winter makes a little bit of a comeback. Yeah, we're talking possible snow. So let's get into it here, and I'm going to move this forward. These are our temperature anomalies in the lower levels of the atmosphere, giving us an idea of where it'll be colder than normal for this time of year. And what you're taking a look at here as we move into the middle of the week, like I said, it's very mild out west and notably a bit cooler out east, which could owe to some wintry weather, but it's pretty quiet as we start the week. So we're going to move this forward. There's our warm air mass moving east as the storm system also moves east, but once that's sort of processed out and moved through, you can see those colder temperatures, those deeper colder temperatures, they're sort of knocking on the door in southern Canada there into next week. So what does that mean for snow? I'm just going to give you a pretty long range outlook here, and we're going to take a look at the potential for snowfall across the country over at least the next 7 days. We're going to be using the European ensembles. Just gives us a good broad brush picture. So here we go. As we move this forward, you're seeing the north side of our storm system kind of cut through. That could produce a pretty decent snowfall, a 6-inch snowfall across a lot of southern Canada, but you see it just misses the U.S. as we move into the weekend. However, like I said before, northern New England, especially in those mountains, anywhere you're seeing those dark blue colors, that is a legitimate chance for a 6-inch snowfall and at least a 3-inch snowfall where you're seeing those blue colors show up. So could be something in upstate New York across northern New England. Then we have another system. Remember that rain that was impacting the northwestern U.S.? That dropped some snow in the mountains out there. And on the backside of our storm, you could see some snow. A decent snowfall is possible in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. But really, we're just talking about more of those northern areas. Continuing to move this forward into next week, that system could brush more of northern New England again. And then next week, as that cold weather sits just to the north of us, now these chances are less certain, but our ensembles is showing us that for next week, winter can't be ruled out here just quite yet. Doesn't mean it's likely, but it's not completely over. So we're going to be watching this more closely as we go through the next couple of weeks. And like I said, you'll want to subscribe, turn on notifications, because I'll be tracking this. I'll make sure you know what's happening before it really hits the media. All right, guys. Hey, I hope you have a great week, okay? Weather's pretty nice. It gets warm out west. As we get later in the week and really this weekend, we need to be a bit more serious about what's coming, tracking it a little closer. So make sure you tune back in. And if you have any questions, as always, drop them in the comments. Let me know what the weather's like where you are, where you're watching from, and I'll see you here next time.